CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, Carter, and Dark Impulse 85 for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I got a dark web tip about a tunnel under Disneyland. The security cameras show kids who were never found. Yo, so I don't even know how to start this without sounding like a complete psycho. But I swear everything I'm about to say is 100% real. I'm not here to convince anyone. I just need to get this story out. I'll start where it started. For me, at least. I was scrolling TikTok at like 2 a.m., right? Half baked off some cheap gas station edibles, slouched on my bed, just dead-eyed thumbing through videos. Usual stuff. Dance trends, conspiracy edits, creepy AI-generated stories about missing people, that kind of rabbit hole. Then I get this DM on Instagram from an account I didn't follow. The username was something weird like @stayhidden0604. 0 posts, no profile pic, and it was private. But the message, just a link. And look, I know that's like the oldest setup in the book, but curiosity's a hell of a drug, and I was bored as hell. Plus, I don't know if it was the edibles or the weird-ass timestamp on the message, sent at 3:33 a.m. exactly, but something made me click it. It didn't take me to a website directly. It was like an access portal, one of those onion links you'd find on the deep web. Now, for the record, I've been on the deep web before. Nothing wild, just curiosity missions. But this was different. This wasn't like a forum or some product market. It was a live feed, like a literal security cam feed. At first it looked like a loading screen, or just bad signal, blurry gray pixels and static. But then it focused. It was a corridor, clean, white walls, fluorescent lights flickering at the far end like they were dying one by one. And then I noticed the Mickey ears. One of those cheesy Disney directional signs on the wall had the classic Mickey silhouette, like the kind you see at Disneyland when you're trying to find the bathroom or the exit. But this wasn't the happy magic place I remembered from my trip in 8th grade. No, this place was empty, dead silent. The audio was faint, but you could hear a soft humming, like those old CRT TVs make when they're on with no signal. But the scariest thing, there were toys littered around the hallway floor, just left there, like kids had been playing and then stopped. Some were even still moving, like battery-operated stuff. A Buzz Lightyear just rotating its arm over and over. Whir, click. Whir, click. I'm thinking, okay, someone's messing with me. This has to be ARGST. But before I could even close the tab, another message hit my inbox. You're already in. What the hell does that mean? I clicked out immediately, unplugged my router, deleted my cache, all of it. But then, the next day, my phone started freaking out. Not glitched or bricked or anything, but weird stuff. Siri would randomly activate and say stuff I didn't ask. My Photos app had new pictures, blurry, grainy ones, from outside my apartment window, like someone had been watching me sleep. No GPS metadata, no timestamps, just black and white shots of me, completely passed out. One of them, my eyes were open, and I swear to God I wasn't awake. I lost it. called T-Mobile, wiped everything, reset my accounts, changed all my passwords. I even started sleeping with a knife under my pillow, which is dumb because what am I gonna do if it's some Russian hacker or something? Anyway, I tried to forget about it. I genuinely did. But then, about a week later, I was at Starbucks with a couple friends. Shout out Ashley and Romy if y'all see this. And Romy scrolling through Reddit on her iPad and says, "Yo, did you hear about this thread? Something about missing kids and Disneyland tunnels." I swear, I felt every blood cell in my body freeze. She shows me the post. It's on r/unresolved mysteries, and the title is literally "Missing Children Cases at Disneyland that were never reported in the news. Surveillance footage leaked. No source, no username, just screenshots. Same hallway, same Mickey ears, same Buzz Lightyear. But in one of the screenshots, there was a kid, a small boy, back turned to the camera, standing perfectly still in the middle of the hallway. His hands were at his sides. He was wearing what looked like an old-school Disneyland cast member outfit, but tiny, like a child-sized bellhop uniform, the kind you see on Tower of Terror stuff. Only the colors were off. Too faded, almost greenish instead of red. The comments were full of ARG and fake spam, but a few stuck out. "This looks like the access tunnels. I used to intern at Disneyland. This area shouldn't even be accessible to cameras. I work maintenance. We've had areas like this sealed for years. I don't know where this footage is coming from. The boy looks like Charlie Monroe. Look it up. Missing since 2009. Last seen at Disneyland." So I did. I looked up Charlie Monroe, 7 years old. Vanished during a family trip to Disneyland Anaheim in July 2009. Disappeared in broad daylight. Near, it literally said this, the perimeter fencing around the Space Mountain construction zone. The case was cold. No witnesses, no footage. Parents sued the park, but settled out of court. And then I realized the corridor from the feed had a curved wall, like the outer edge of a ride building, like Space Mountain. I couldn't sleep for days after that, not even with YouTube ambience or rain sounds. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that corridor, that boy, standing, not moving, like he was waiting for something. And then the messages started again, but not on Instagram, on my locked notes app. Every time I opened it, there'd be a new note, just one line each time. "Have you seen her yet? The doors only open from the inside. You already know the way." I didn't write them. I didn't even have iCloud Sync turned on. The final straw? I checked the metadata of one of the notes. The creation location was tagged Anaheim, inside Disneyland. Even though I live in New Jersey, I know how this sounds. I do. But I haven't even told you the worst part yet. That's coming. Because I'm going back. Yeah, you read that right. I'm flying to California next week. I already bought my tickets. And I'm going into that tunnel. I didn't sleep the night before the flight. Not because I was scared. At least that's what I told myself. But because I felt pulled, like a hook was embedded somewhere deep in the back of my mind, and something down there was tugging the line. Every time I blinked, I saw the hallway stretch longer, the fluorescent lights flickering like they were breathing. I landed in LAX around noon. I rented a nondescript Kia and drove straight down the 5 toward Anaheim. It was a hot, miserable day. The air tasted like mechanics and gasoline. I kept passing those digital amber highway alerts. Missing kids, silver alerts. Amber alert, 14-year-old female, last seen in an Uber near Santa Monica Pier. The timing twisted my stomach, like the world was mocking me. I checked into a cheap motel a few blocks from the park, walls stained with cigarette burns, and something darker near the bed frame that I didn't look too closely at. The front desk clerk didn't look at me when I signed in. She kept glancing at the television behind her, muted reruns of the Disneyland fireworks on loop, bright colors against night sky. She smiled at the screen, but not at me. I opened my notes app again. A new message was waiting. Take the service entrance. They won't stop you once you're inside. I didn't ask how it knew. I didn't ask why it responded like a person. I just stared at the words, cold and small, like they'd been carved into me. The next morning, the park was already packed before rope drop. Families with matching shirts, toddlers holding Mickey balloons like they were tethered to safety, people laughing, humming along to TikTok audio echoing from speakers, lines forming outside Starbucks in downtown Disney. Everyone looked so normal, happy, human. I crossed through the gates, smiling at cast members like nothing was wrong. I moved toward Space Mountain like I was just another tourist with nostalgia issues. No one noticed when I broke off, slid down a restricted passage that looped behind a popcorn stand. One of those metal signs with big white letters, cast members only, blocked the way, but the latch was loose. I pushed. It opened like someone was waiting. Back corridors in theme parks don't look magical. They look like the guts of a mall. Bare drywall, concrete floors, dirty posters reminding employees to stay hydrated and smile. I walked deeper, past break rooms full of half-eaten French fries and abandoned name tags. An entire green trash bin overflowing with park maps. The smell of sweat mixed with bleach. Then the hallway dipped down a ramp, floor changing from rough gray to smooth white tile. The ceiling lowered. Fluorescent lights hummed louder, and I knew I was close. There was no camera in sight, not the regular ones anyway, but something else was watching me. I could feel it in the way the air shifted against my skin. Halfway down the corridor, I passed a child-sized shoe, pink, glittery, like the kind kids beg their parents to buy at Target. Laces torn, no dirt, no dust, like it had been placed there moments earlier. Past it, the walls changed again. The paint was too fresh, too white, maintenance white, not guest-facing white. I could smell the chemical sting of it burning my nostrils. I turned the corner, and there it was, the tunnel. It was exactly like the feed, except it was worse. The camera had washed out the details. The floor wasn't just littered with toys, it was layered. Dolls stacked on dolls, heads pointing every direction, limbs bent in angles that made me dizzy. Plastic eyes reflecting the flickering lights like mutated pupils. I recognized popular merch, Elsa dolls, Spider-Man plushies, Ursula figurines, but they weren't scattered randomly. They were arranged in paths, like something was guiding small feet through a maze. Tiny steps, tiny steps, tiny steps. I picked a path and stepped over the toys, trying not to breathe, trying not to think about who had walked here last. The deeper I went, the colder the air became. Not just AC is strong cold, bone cold, morgue cold. My teeth hurt inside my skull. I reached a bend and stopped. A child stood at the end of the tunnel, short, still, facing away. That same weird bellhop uniform from the screenshot. Greenish, too old-fashioned, too fitted. He didn't move, not even to breathe. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My voice just folded inside me like wet paper. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and he turned his head. Not his body, just his head, like someone had twisted it too far at the neck. His face wasn't right, not mutilated or monstrous, just wrong, like someone had tried to redraw a human face from memory and missed small details. Eyes a bit too close, lips a bit too wide, nose just slightly twisted like a thumbprint smudged clay. He whispered something, but instead of words, I heard static, like a microphone scraping against fabric. And then he ran, not away from me, at me. Rapid, jerky footsteps like a glitching NPC sprinting at an impossible frame rate. His feet didn't even land correctly. Heel, toe, too fast, too light. I backed up so fast, I stepped on a Toy Story alien plush, the speaker inside it croaking out, "Oh!" like a dying battery. I fell hard against the wall, but the kid didn't touch me. He stopped inches from my face, frozen, staring up at me with those two close eyes. And then he smiled, a smooth, perfect line stretching across his face. Not a real smile, no creases, no muscle strain, like a sticker pasted over skin. His mouth didn't open when I heard the voice. "You're late." I kicked past him and ran. I don't know how long I sprinted. The tunnel twisted in unnatural ways, impossible geometry, walls bending inward like ribs closing around me. Every corner I turned, I saw kids, not chasing me, just standing, lining the walls like audience members in a show, dressed in outdated uniforms and fantasy costumes, all too small, empty eyes staring with photograph's attention. I reached a door at the end of the corridor, metal and dented like something had hammered on it from the other side. My hand shook trying to open it. The handle burned my palm like it had been sitting under a sun that wasn't there. When it finally gave way, the door swung inward and a blast of stale air hit me. Inside was a huge chamber, too big to exist underground, like a warehouse beneath the park. And everywhere, small, colorless beds, hundreds of them arranged in perfect rows, each one with restraints threaded through holes drilled into the frame. The straps were worn, some still buckled, some broke, metal teeth marks in the plastic. TikTok's cheerful theme music echoed faintly from speakers somewhere overhead, bouncing off concrete walls, glitched, looped, deformed. On a massive screen in the center of the room, a slideshow of missing children played. Faces I recognized: Charlie Monroe, Mia Lee, 2015, Edward Chavez, 2018, Luca Peralta, 2022, dozens more, their last known photos smiling, then the timestamp of the date they vanished. All different years, all different states, all different parks. And as the screen flickered, something else began to fade in. Security footage, not from the parks, from bedrooms, playrooms, school hallways, places kids should be safe. Static swallowed their faces. Then the grain shifted and the image filled with the tunnel. The tunnel I stood in. One line of text crawled across the bottom. They follow their favorite characters. Behind me, I heard tiny shoes scrape the floor. Dozens of them. I didn't look back. I ran, and I don't remember breathing again until I was outside the park, sprinting past confused tourists, past churro carts and balloon vendors, vomit building in the back of my throat. I collapsed next to a trash bin near a McDonald's on Harbor Boulevard, hands shaking so violently my fingers kept missing my phone screen. I didn't call the police. I didn't call friends. I didn't post about it. Because when I opened my notes app, another message was already waiting. Don't pretend you didn't see him. Attached was a photo. a blurry shot of me, standing in the tunnel, and behind me, peeking over my shoulder, was the boy, smiling. I didn't go home after that day. I tried. I swear I tried. I got as far as the airport parking garage before I realized it wasn't over. My flight was at 7:10 a.m. I checked the gate screens, walked through TSA, hands shaking, hoodie pulled low, telling myself I'd never look back, that it was just proof of concept insanity, an elaborate prank by someone who hated kids, or hated parks, or hated me. Then something walked past. A woman, mid-30s, maybe early 40s, dragging a toddler by the hand. The kid wore Minnie Mouse ears and was whining about some YouTube channel. The mother didn't slow down, didn't comfort him, didn't even look at him. Her face was completely slack, as if pulled tight from the inside, like someone had pressed a mask against her skull and said, "Smile." I recognized her. Not her face, her movements, that stiff, unnatural turn of the head, like a camera pivoting, the exact way that boy in the tunnel had turned. She lifted her phone as she passed me. Her lock screen flashed. It wasn't a child. It was the tunnel. The same tunnel. Not a still photo, either. A live feed. She didn't look at me, but the kid did. His eyes rolled up from under the ears, pupils pinned tiny as pepper grains. His lips parted like someone puppeting his mouth from behind his teeth, and he whispered something so quiet the air had to lean in to catch it. "You'll make them angry." I left the line, didn't even grab my backpack from security. I just walked out into the airport bathrooms, locked myself in a stall, and threw up until there was nothing left but spit and those little black bursts dancing behind my eyes. I booked a rideshare back to Anaheim. The driver kept glancing in the mirror, even when he wasn't talking to me. Every time our eyes met, he blinked once, hard, like someone tapping a reset button. His left cheek twitched in a rhythm I knew too well. On, off, on, off. A fluorescent stutter. He didn't drop me at my motel. He pulled into an alley behind the employee entrance of Disneyland and said, dead calm, "They want you back." His voice wasn't his voice. It was the static whisper from the tunnel. The words tangled in static, breaking in and out like a bad radio broadcast. "You didn't finish." When I stepped out of the car, he stared straight ahead, grin stretching slow across his face, cracking the edges of his lips until it bled. He didn't wipe it. He was still smiling when he drove away. I don't remember crossing the fence. I don't remember bypassing the cameras. I only remember the doors. They opened for me. No badge, no cast member lanyard, just the same pale hallway underneath Space Mountain, humming like the world's last dying light bulb. This time, the toys were gone. The floor was clean. Too clean. No footprints, no trash, no dust. Like someone had sterilized the path. At the far end of the corridor was a door that hadn't been there before. A rectangle of matte black metal, not painted, but built from some material that swallowed light. Even the glow from the ceiling seemed afraid to touch it. I pressed it open. No resistance. It swung like it wanted me. Inside was a viewing room. Cold seats lined up in rows, all pointed toward a massive curved screen, like a private IMAX theater buried into the bones of the park. And on the screen, kids, sitting in hallways, sitting in tunnels, sitting in rooms without windows. Always the same posture, knees together, hands resting, heads tilted slightly forward, like they were waiting for a cue. Overlaid text faded in and out like gasping breaths. Property of Walt Disney. Company do not distribute. Level 7, protocol subjects. A to infinity. Behind me, the door sealed shut. No handle, no lock, no sound. The chairs weren't empty. I didn't notice at first, because none of them moved, and they weren't children. They were adults, at least the shape of adults, wearing cost uniforms, custodial, attractions, guest services, outfits from eras the park doesn't use anymore. Their badges had unreadable years: 1984, 1997, 2005, 2011. Names eroded like sandpaper across their plastic. They didn't react to me. They just sat there, facing forward, eyes glossy, like someone had drained them and filled the sockets with water. And then the screen changed. The camera angle was from above, panning slowly over a massive black room. I recognized those beds, the child-sized ones, but now a second row of something larger lay beside them. Restraints for adults, metal cuffs bolted into frames. Some still had hair tangled in them. A voice, not a cast member, not a narrator, started speaking over the feed. Crisp, sanitized, corporate. Guests on location are instructed to maintain calm while containment protocols activate. Do not interact with the entities. If a subject experiences dissociation, request assistance from tunnel staff. Remember, magic is safety. The words pounded through my skull like a migraine hammer. I screamed at the screen, at the room, at anything. What are they? Who are they? Someone answered. Not from the screen, from the row directly behind me. A voice like playground gravel grinding against bone. They used to be you. I turned. A woman in a food service uniform, name tag scratched blank, was staring at me. Her eyes were foggy, but her smile was too wide, the same sticker lip curve I'd seen on the boy. Her jaw didn't move when the voice continued. They all wanted to visit the magic. They never wanted to leave. Her hand lifted, slow and trembling. The skin along her forearm rippled like ants crawling beneath it. Something moved under the flesh in a narrow line, like a cable being pulled from wrist to elbow. I backed up, but she reached forward, touching the side of my face with fingers colder than steel. That's when the lights came on in the theater. The other adults turned their heads, simultaneously. Dozens of eyeballs twisting in a synchronized pivot, snapping into alignment like mechanized turrets. Every single one of them was smiling. He's here. He's here. He's here. Their voices layered on top of each other. Same pitch, same cadence, not a single breath. Like someone was pressing a button on a soundboard labeled Hopeful Chorus. The screen cut to black. Then an image bloomed. A face scarred by time and animation and marketing. White gloves, red shorts, black eyes that aren't eyes. Mickey. Not drawn, not animated, not costumed. Alive. Breathing. His chest rose and fell with unnatural rhythm, pulling air into places it didn't belong. His head tilted sideways, bones popping like bubble wrap in a child's hands. He opened his mouth. Not a smile. A jaw splitting apart, like fabric tearing. Inside wasn't pink or wet. Inside was the tunnel. Rows of children, rows of beds, rows of things waiting with eyes that didn't blink. The lights cut out. Something grabbed my wrist and pulled. When I came to, I wasn't in the theater anymore. I was lying on cold tile, cheek pressed flat against it. The way people sleep on marble floors in airports when flights get cancelled at 3 a.m. The air was humid and sour, like when AC vents haven't been cleaned in years. My breath fogged faintly in front of me, even though the air felt warm. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I listened. Somewhere far away, speakers hummed a cheerful melody, Disney's parade music, but slowed down or stretched. as if someone had drowned it under a swimming pool before playing it back. Brass instruments dragging like dying lungs. Yees, yes, yes, yes. I lifted my head. My neck crackled like old Velcro tearing loose. I was in what looked like an underground mall corridor, long, wide, painted in pastel colors that didn't belong in basements. Pink, blue, mint green, rainbow stripes along the wall like the hallways of a children's hospital or a daycare, except the paint wasn't fresh. It peeled in places, curling like sunburned skin. Lights hung from the ceiling like surgical fixtures, white, harsh, humming. The shadows beneath them were so sharp they looked carved. I stood slowly, hand braced against the wall. The texture wasn't drywall. It flexed slightly, like rubber or vinyl. I pressed harder. It indented, then sprang back, like a padded cell. A sound echoed behind me. Soft footfalls, many of them, like a group walking in sync. I turned. They weren't kids. They were costumes. Dozens of them, mascots from every era. Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Pluto, princess dresses, princess faces. Each costume filled, each one moving. No zipper seams visible. No eye holes where a performer would look out. The fabric around their joints was stretched tight, creaking with each step as if metal bones flexed inside. They rounded the corner in a line. A parade. Not cheerful. Not choreographed. Just continuous motion. Their heads bobbed, not in rhythm, but in jagged knots, like something inside them was trying to stand up straight. I could hear faint scraping noises every time one of them turned. Metal against bone. Plastic against plastic. It reminded me of those claw machines grinding when they clamped down on a toy. I pressed flat to the wall as they passed. They didn't turn toward me. They didn't react. They just walked until the last one stopped. It was Mickey, not the one from the screen. This one was normal-sized, the meet and greet costume type. Big round ears, white gloves, oversized boots. Except the proportions were wrong. His arms hung too long, almost scraping the floor. The fabric around the torso bulged, like whoever was inside didn't fit the mold. Slowly, the head rotated, not the body, just the head. It swiveled toward me with no resistance. The sound was delicate, like a spoon stirring ice cubes. The eyes weren't mesh. They weren't plastic. They weren't cartoon. They were wet, human, and they blinked, soundless. Once, twice. Then something inside the costume's belly shifted, like a child kicking from the inside of a pregnant stomach. The mascot hunched slightly, as if suppressing a convulsion, then jerked upright. The mouth seam split, not like fabric tearing, like skin opening. A line appeared where no line existed before, stretching into a grin so wide it reached the underside of the fake head. Something behind the mouth rustled. Paper? Leaves? No. Hair. A small blonde tuft pushed through the opening, wet and trembling. I bolted. I didn't scream. I didn't think. My body just chose survival and sprinted. The corridor branched into a maze of side tunnels, each marked with colorful signs. Grand Night, Cast Corridor, Receiving Bay, VIP Access, Lost Children's Center. That last one scratched out with gouges so deep the letters looked freshly dug. I chose the one that said Cast Corridor. It led to a locker room. But these weren't gym lockers. They were full-size vertical coffins of metal, each painted with a cast member's name. Engraved plates spanning decades of employment. Some had sticky notes taped on them. Smile more. Magic never sleeps. Your family now. I pushed one open. The smell hit first. Not rotten, not corpse-like. preserved, chemical sweet, refrigerated plastic. Inside hung a full-body mascot suit, goofy, not plush, but something like latex, seamless, anatomical. The head was hollow, mouth open. The gloves dangled like dead white hands. A small tablet was mounted on the inside of the door. Its screen lit the instant I looked at it. A video began to play. It wasn't training material. It was footage of a corridor I recognized, the one I crawled through the night before. Only this time, there were handlers. 4 men in white coats, walking on either side of a line of children. The kids wore half-finished costume parts, like their bodies were being built into the suits around them. Foam pieces strapped to their arms, synthetic fur stitched to their legs while they walked, robotic braces clamped to their spines. Their faces were vacant, their movements puppet-like. One child tripped. A handler didn't help him. He pressed a device against the child's neck. Small, silver, humming. The child jerked once and stood upright again, limbs stiffened, like someone had yanked invisible strings. The video cut to black. The tablet blinked a new line of text. There's no actor. There's only character. A hum rose behind me. Thousands of tiny insect wings beating at once. Not flies, not machines. Breathing. I turned around and saw them. Rows of opened lockers I hadn't touched. Inside each one stood a figure. Men, women, teenagers. Some looked decades old, some fresh. All wearing half-completed mascot suits. Nylon skin stretched over muscle like a second dermis. Their real eyes peeked out through the cartoon faces, jittering with robotic tremors. Their mouths were sewn shut. The threads glistened with saliva. Some tore with every unspoken attempt at sound. They advanced, not quickly, one shuffling step at a time, like toddlers learning to walk. I ran into the only place I hadn't looked, a door labeled Service Tunnel C. Inside was darkness, pure and absorbing, better than the stitched parade behind me. I slammed the door. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I listened. There were voices in the dark. Not whispers, not words. Children giggling, echoing in a circle around me. A projector clicked on above. No warning. A cone of milky light splashed against a wall that hadn't been there seconds earlier. The projection wasn't old film. It was live footage. A security camera feed. A modern Starbucks cafe inside Disneyland. Guests sipping frappuccinos, typing on laptops, trade pins clinking on lanyards. A normal day. I stood frozen as the camera zoomed in on a girl sitting by the window, maybe 12, wearing a Stitch hoodie. She slurped a vanilla bean frappe, scrolling TikTok. Her phone vibrated. She lifted it. I saw the notification, an airdrop request. Join us. She frowned, confused. Another request. Join us. Parents at the next table didn't look up. Baristas didn't move. The girl pressed decline. The airdrop request appeared again. The projector sharpened. The glass in the Starbucks window reflected something behind the girl. White gloves, red shorts, black eyes. The image snapped away. A different feed, a different part of the park. Pixar Pier, Ferris wheel. Families shouting, laughing, hands waving. Then the camera jerked upward, like dragged by a chain. It pointed at the gondolas. In one gondola, a boy sat alone. No adults, no guards, just a mascot head, sitting across from him, not attached to a body, just the head. It tilted toward him. The screen flashed with static. Then the room lights turned on. I wasn't alone. Sitting cross-legged in the center of the tunnel floor was the boy I'd seen before, the uniformed one. He tilted his head the same unnatural way. Vertebrae rattled like dice in a cup. His smile peeled wider than a human jaw should allow. He whispered, tiny voice vibrating like a phone on a table. "We never leave." His eyes blinked. Once, twice. Then he crawled. Not walked. Crawled. All fours. Fast. Hands and knees scraping tile. Fingers bending backward. A spider in a skin that wasn't built for it. I ran deeper into the dark until the giggles faded behind me, and the only sound was my own pulse pounding against the inside of my skull. I didn't know it then, but I wasn't running toward an exit. I was running toward the thing the tunnels were built for. I never saw the point where the tunnel ended. There was no clean line between hallway and chamber, no doorway or seam, just floor dissolving into an open space so vast it made me feel like I was standing inside a dead lung. The walls curved upward like a ribcage, pale and smooth, bone-colored but not bone. Too perfect, too polished. The overhead lights weren't bulbs or panels. They glowed through the material itself, like veins carrying electric blood. The floor had texture, soft and uneven, like old carpet that's been walked on for decades. And everywhere, embedded in the fabric, were names printed in small letters, some newer than others. Aaron, age 9, Brielle, age 12, Hassan, age 11, Mia, age 7. I knelt and touched one. The floor pulsed, not like a surface, like skin. I pulled my hand back. The chamber wasn't empty. Dozens of shapes moved along the far side. At first I thought they were machines, maintenance rigs or animatronics. Some had metal frames, some dragged cables, some crawled like broken puppets. I squinted and realized they weren't mechanical. They were people. Adults wearing pieces of mascot suits, half fused into frames that weren't designed for human posture. Their limbs bent wrong, their spines curved like the underside of roller coaster tracks. When they lifted their heads, their faces were bare. No masks, no smiles, but their eyes were glazed over, pupils shrunk to dots like they'd stared into welding torches. No one screamed, no one begged. They moved like sleepwalkers who had never woken up. In the center of the chamber was a platform, a stage. Spotlights formed a perfect circle around it, and on that stage stood something I had no language for. It was a mouse, but not a costume, not a cartoon, not animatronic. Its limbs were too long, its torso too narrow. Its head was a perfect sphere, matte black, unlit, like someone sculpted a mouse silhouette from obsidian. Its gloves weren't fabric. They were rigid, glossy, more like polished bone. The red shorts were stitched directly to its lower torso, seams sunk into flesh that should not have been flesh. It didn't breathe. It didn't sway. It simply existed, and every person in the room moved with the rhythm of its stillness, drawn in like metal filings around a magnet. A sound rose from the walls, a soft chorus of children's voices, humming the same 4-note melody repeated over and over. If you've ever stood in line for It's a Small World long enough, your brain knows it, even when you don't want it to. I tried to step back. The floor moved under me, just slightly, like a mattress shifting under another sleeper. I turned around. The boy in the green bellhop outfit stood 3 feet behind me. He wasn't smiling anymore. His lips were slack, jaw hanging heavy. He blinked once, slow, like a camera shutter closing. Then he said it. "You're not supposed to watch. You're supposed to become." Before I could answer, the mouse moved. Not dramatically, not with sound, just a tilt of the head. But the moment it did, everybody in the chamber collapsed to their knees. Not in prayer, in obedience. They bowed, not toward the stage, but toward the floor, foreheads pressed into the names beneath them. The fabric of the chamber rippled as if a heartbeat passed through it, and something began crawling out of the walls. Not hands, not limbs. Faces. Children's faces, flattened and stretched like film prints captured wrong. Their mouths moved, murmuring silently, lips opening and closing like fish on dry land. Their eyes looked at me, every one of them, pupils wide and endless. The chamber filled with a smell, faint at first, then stronger. The sterilized sweetness of plastic toys, fresh out of packaging. The mouse lifted one arm, fingers flexed. The lights above pulsed. Something cracked behind me. I turned and saw a door, an industrial service door, metal stained with rust, like the underground of a stadium. It hadn't been there a moment earlier, but it was open now, wide enough to admit one person. The boy in the bellhop uniform stepped aside. He gestured toward the exit. His voice changed, no longer static or glitching, just a child's voice, soft and unbearably normal. They don't let grown-ups leave. I ran. I didn't look back at the mouse, at the suits, at the names beneath my feet. I ran through that door like it was the last doorway on Earth. The corridor beyond wasn't white or padded or pastel. It was concrete, industrial, raw. Exposed pipes, metal stairs, emergency lights flickering red. A service tunnel built for workers, not dreams. I climbed. I don't know how long. Minutes, hours. The air thinned. My ears popped hard enough to make me dizzy. At the end, there was an elevator. Old. Freight-sized. Its control panel had one button. No numbers. No labels. Just a Mickey silhouette. I pressed it. The elevator rose with a violent shudder, cables whining. Then the doors opened. I was in Disneyland, not underground, not backstage, right next to the churro cart outside Space Mountain. People walked past me like nothing was wrong. Tourists with popcorn, toddlers screaming over overpriced balloons, teens staging TikToks. The sun hit my face. I collapsed to the pavement and sobbed until the crowd cleared space around me. Security rushed over. They asked if I was dehydrated, asked if I'd hit my head. One of them offered bottled water with the castle logo printed on the label. I tried to tell them. I told them about the tunnels, the children, the mascot suits, the mouse. They smiled, not politely, not nervously. They smiled the way the boy had smiled, slow, unnatural, too wide. One of them leaned close, index finger pressed against his radio, fake concern in his voice. "We'll take you to Lost Children Services." The words slid into my veins. Every nerve screamed. I broke through them, sprinted across Tomorrowland, shoved through crowds, vaulted barriers, ignored shouts, ignored hands grabbing for me. I burst through the exit gates and ran until my lungs felt like razors. I didn't stop until I was back in my motel room. I locked the door. I sat on the bathtub floor with the lights off. I stayed there until dawn. When I finally worked up the nerve to look at my phone, there was a new note waiting. No GPS data, no typing history, just 3 words. "You made it." I dropped the phone. It clattered on the tiles. I forced myself to pick it back up. The note wasn't finished. 4 more words appeared underneath as I watched. "Now you belong." The screen flashed once. For a split second, the camera activated by itself. Front-facing, I saw my own reflection. Behind me stood something tall. White gloves, red shorts, black eyes that weren't painted. The phone buzzed in my hand. Text appeared. "Next parade begins at 7 a.m. The time at the top of the screen changed. 6:59. I'm telling this while the knock is happening. They haven't stopped. They don't ask to come in. They don't speak. They just tap on the door. steady and patient, like the beat of a marching band. Tap, tap, tap. They know I can hear them. They know the only way out is to open it. And I don't know what terrifies me more, that they'll break the door down, or that I'll eventually get tired enough, hungry enough, lonely enough to open it myself. I took a dark web job, guarding a room with no door. At midnight, someone started knocking from inside. Yo, what's up, guys? So I never really post on Reddit, and I'm definitely not a storytime YouTuber or anything like that. But this has been eating at me for a while. Like, I still don't sleep right. I'm looking over my shoulder in crowded places. I keep a knife in my glove box, and I can't even walk past a damn storage unit without my heart doing backflips. I'm not gonna say my name for obvious reasons. Just call me M. I'm 23 now, but this all went down when I was 19. Back when I was flat broke, jobless, and doing anything I could to avoid moving back in with my mom. She lived in this cramped little apartment above a laundromat in Jersey, and I'd rather eat nails than hear her complain about my lack of direction again. Anyway, I was couch surfing at my buddy Dom's place. He's that dude who always knows where to find sketchy ways to make money. You know the type. Buys bulk iPhones on OfferUp and sells them for double on Instagram. Dom was the one who showed me this private Craigslist thread. Not public, like the normal listings. You needed a password. The page had this off-brand 90s looking vibe, gray background, text like it was coded by someone's grandpa. There was one listing at the top. Overnight security, private facility, $1,250 per night. No questions asked. Non-disclosure mandatory. Now listen, I knew it was sketchy. I knew it. But when you're broke and eating ramen packets dry because you can't afford a stove, you don't care how weird it sounds. I clicked it. There was no email, just a form, name, age, and a single question. Can you follow instructions without asking why? I typed yes, hit submit, and forgot about it. Until 2 days later, I get a text from a number with no caller ID. You have been selected. Bring nothing but your phone. Transportation will arrive at 10:45 p.m. sharp. Miss it, and you forfeit. I stared at that text for like a full minute. I showed Dom. He was hyped. Bro, that's dark web money. You gotta go. He was laughing. I wasn't. I was nervous, yeah. But again, I needed the cash. That night I put on my hoodie, grabbed my phone, and waited outside his apartment. At 10:45 p.m. on the dot, a black Escalade pulls up. No plates, tinted windows. The back door opens by itself. No driver even looked at me. I slide in, half expecting to get chloroformed or something, but nothing happens. No one talks. Just me, some guy in a ski mask in the front seat, and the slow, quiet hum of the road. We drove for what felt like an hour. Definitely left the city. I saw a McDonald's sign go by, then nothing but dark woods and the occasional gas station lit up like an oasis. Eventually, we turned off-road and rolled down this gravel path. Thick trees on either side. My phone lost service. We pull up to this weird, isolated building. Not a warehouse, not a house. More like an oversized storage unit. The outside was plain steel. No windows, no logos, nothing. Just a single door with a keypad and a red light above it. The guy in the front handed me a laminated card. It said, "Do not enter the room. Do not open the room. Do not look through the slot. Stay in the chair. stay awake. Midnight to 6 a.m., $1,250 paid in cash upon pickup. The card had a barcode on the back. I was gonna ask questions, but the guy just got out, opened the door, and pointed. Inside, it was just one room. Concrete walls, one chair facing a steel door, no handle, just this weird little rectangular mail slot at eye level, and that was it. No camera, no weapons, no instructions beyond that card. I sat down. The door slammed shut behind me, and I was alone. No clock, no TV, no internet. Just me and my thoughts in the world's creepiest waiting room. At first, nothing happened. I mean nothing. The kind of stillness that makes you hear your own heartbeat. I tried passing time by counting ceiling tiles. Then I opened notes on my phone and started typing out random thoughts just to stay awake. I must have dozed off because the next thing I know, knock, knock, knock. 3 soft knocks, coming from the other side of the door. I sat bolt upright. My blood turned ice cold. It was 12:17 a.m. based on my phone. Midnight, just like the card said. I thought maybe it was a test, some dude trying to see if I'd open it. I stayed seated. Then a voice came through the slot. A woman's voice, but off, like, layered, maybe even auto-tuned. No accent, flat, like Siri had a sore throat. Hello, is someone there? Please, I'm lost. I don't know where I am, let me out. My throat closed up. I couldn't move. I was frozen. Every instinct in my body told me to bolt. But bolt where? The door I came through was sealed shut. There was only the door with the voice. Please, I'm scared. I was kidnapped. I don't know what this place is. Then it changed. I hear you breathing. I stood up. Not to open the door, just to back away. I looked around like some escape route was going to materialize. But no dice. I waited. The voice went silent. For hours, I just stood there, back pressed to the far wall. No more knocks. No more voice. I was beginning to think maybe I imagined it. But at exactly 5:59 a.m., I heard the lock disengage behind me. The Escalade guy was there again, holding an envelope. I stumbled out like I'd been in a coma. Didn't say a word. Didn't want to. He handed me the cash, nodded once, and drove me back. I told Dom everything. He thought it was hilarious. Bro, you got paid to do nothing. You're golden. But here's the thing. That voice. I heard it again. Not in person, in a TikTok. Someone posted this creepy found footage style video saying they got a weird voicemail from an unknown number. I swear on everything, I'd bet my soul, that was the same voice, same words. I hear you breathing. And the scariest part, that video was posted 2 years ago. I thought I could just take the money and move on, like it was a bad dream I had gotten paid for having. I went back to Dom's, slept until 5 p.m. the next day, and pretended nothing happened. I ordered Starbucks, scrolled Instagram, watched a couple Luna videos, even laughed at dumb TikToks about people fighting over Popeye sandwiches. You know, normal life stuff. That lasted about, 8 hours? Because at 8:41 p.m. the next night, I got another text from that same caller, ID-less number. Job confirmed, same location, same pay, same hours. Transport arrives at 10:45 p.m. Do not be late. I didn't know what scared me more, the idea of going again, or the idea they already assumed I would. My stomach twisted so hard, I thought I was gonna puke. Dom told me I'd be an idiot not to go. It's just sitting in a chair, bro. They're clearly role-playing some mental experiment stuff. Easy money. I didn't argue. Not because he was right, but because the silence in that room stuck to me like tar. Everything afterward felt too loud. People laughing on TikTok, music playing in the car outside, even the AC vent in Dom's living room. Too normal. Like sound didn't belong to the world anymore. At 10:45 p.m. sharp, the Escalade rolled up again. Same driver, same silence. The building was still there, washed in moonlight, like a dead body on a metal table. I swear I could smell the cold steel before I even stepped inside. The card was waiting for me on the chair this time. Addition to rules: do not respond, do not acknowledge any claims of suffering, do not accept requests. If they say your name, close your eyes and cover your ears. It said they, plural. I sat down without thinking. I remember shaking, like I couldn't get my body to remember how to be relaxed. I put my phone in my pocket. I didn't want to look at it. Notifications from normal people felt offensive at that point. The clock on my home screen hit 12 o'clock. The first knock wasn't gentle that time. It shook the door like someone was slamming their forehead into it. And then, gasping, not crying, not screaming, the exact sound someone makes when they're drowning but can't get their head above water. Gasp, 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 like lungs tearing themselves open 1 inch at a time. Then a voice, a different one, a man's voice, hoarse and raw, like he'd been choking on salt water for years. It hurts. Let me out. I didn't move. He kept talking, but he didn't beg. He didn't plead. There was no desperation in him, just a flat, factual statement. You're sitting. I can hear the chair. Why do you sit? Why don't you help? The slot didn't open. The door didn't shake. Just the voice. My wife thought I was dead. She posted photos. Funeral. Closed casket. He paused. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. I wasn't dead. I pressed my palms into my knees so hard I felt nails cut skin. Then that other voice came back. The woman from the first night. Her tone wasn't panicked anymore. She sounded like she was reading a weather forecast. We can see you. Why don't you look at us? There was no crying, no begging now, just calm, like they didn't need help, like they already had me. I pressed myself back into the chair, tried to breathe through my nose without making a sound. Silence. Maybe 10 seconds. Then, scrape. Metal dragged across metal, inches from my eyes. Something was moving behind that door. Not hands, not fingernails. Like bone. Dry bone, dragging across steel. The voices overlapped. Not talking to me anymore. Talking to each other like they were practicing lines in a school play. He won't open it. He will. They always open. I could hear one of them breathing. Slow. Wet. The door was cold, but their breath was hot. The sound of someone exhaling through blood. Then the woman spoke again. Soft. Whispering. You know what happens if you don't help, right? No threats. Just inevitability. They come and take the next one. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't want to give them anything. Then they said my name. Not M, my real name. My full name. The one only my family uses. Spelled correctly. Pronounced correctly. Like they'd known it forever. We know who you are. And that was when the door behind me, the exit, clicked open. It was the same masked man from the Escalade. But this time, he stepped forward into the room. He didn't speak. He didn't look at me. He just walked to the steel door with the slot, placed his palm against it, and said something in a language I had never heard before. A sound like wind blowing through bone, like every syllable was scraped, not spoken. The voices fell silent, every single one. The room felt hollow. My heartbeat was the only thing I could hear. The masked man didn't wait for me. He turned and walked out. I followed him like a dog. When the morning air hit my face, I felt like I'd been underwater for days. In the car ride back, I didn't ask questions. I didn't breathe too loudly. I didn't blink more than I needed to. The guy handed me the envelope again. Same amount of cash, but taped inside was something small and cold. A hotel key card. No number, no hotel name, just a silver stripe. There was a note folded behind it, handwritten in shaky block letters. If they follow you, check in. I turned the card over in the car. There was a blood stain on it, fresh. It smeared onto my thumb like wet paint. And since that night, every time I close my eyes, I don't hear knocking anymore. I hear breathing from inside the walls. I didn't go home after the second shift. I didn't even consider it. Dom was texting me 1,000 question marks, sending memes, acting like nothing mattered. I couldn't look at the screen. Every sound from the street, people laughing outside, some drunk idiot screaming into a drive-through speaker at Burger King, sounded fake, like the world was doing impressions of itself. I bought an Uber to the cheapest motel I could find on Google Maps. One of those places with peeling paint and carpet that smells like cigarettes and wet dog. I locked the door, put a chair against it, and sat on the end of the bed with the room lights off. I tried to sleep past sunrise. I failed. There was this ringing in my ears, not tinnitus, something slower, like someone humming behind me, just below breath level. When I turned my head, I'd catch it in the corner of my hearing, like a shadow that moves when you try to look at it. I didn't tell Dom anything. I didn't tell my mom anything. I didn't tell anyone anything, because every time I imagined explaining it, I heard one word in the back of my skull: liar. I lasted 3 days before the next text came. You are late. No pickup time, no instructions, just those 3 words. I didn't know what I was late for. The message felt like someone was tapping their finger against my forehead. I dug the key card out of my hoodie pocket. It was still stained. I ran it under the motel faucet. The water went cloudy, like old wine. I wiped it with my shirt anyway. On the back of the card, an address I hadn't noticed before had been embossed so faintly it only showed in the right angle of light. It wasn't a street, not a hotel name, just coordinates. I punched them into Google Maps. It centered on a building, a real one, about 40 miles from me. A business hotel near an airport. Lobby photos, Starbucks in the lobby, generic beige everything. The kind of place you stay when your flight is delayed or a convention put you somewhere you don't care about. I stared at the photo of the lobby, the people walking, the barista at the counter, and none of them looked real. Not the way a photo looks, the way props look. I packed what little I had: a phone charger, deodorant, a dollar store toothbrush, and got on a bus. Checking in was the first moment this stopped being a Reddit story and started being something I shouldn't be telling anyone. The front desk clerk was smiling before I even spoke. Not customer service smiling, anticipation smiling. You have it? She asked. Not my name, not a reservation, not ID. I held out the key card. She didn't scan it. She didn't look at a computer. She slipped it into a wooden drawer and pulled out a different card, black, no numbers, no logo, and handed it to me like she'd been waiting days to do it. Level 4, she said. End of the hall. Left side. Nothing about breakfast. Nothing about checkout times. Just instructions, like she was preparing me for a test. Before I could take a step toward the elevator, she added, "Keep your eyes forward. Don't look at them. Them. Plural." There it was again. The elevator ride lasted too long. Hotel elevators beep on every floor, right? This one didn't. No music, no mirror, just black walls with faint scratches, like someone had tried clawing their way out. I got to level 4. The carpet was different from the photos online. No pattern, just plain red. The shade of wet clay. Under the hallway lights, it looked like fresh blood, but not the horror movie kind. The real kind you see on someone who's fallen off a bike and scraped half their leg open. The air smelled wrong. Not rot, just old breath. Like 1,000 people had stood there dying and exhaling into the walls. The rooms all had peepholes, but every peephole was taped over from the outside. Thick black tape, uneven edges, some torn halfway off, like people had ripped it in panic. At the end of the hall was my door. No number, no knockout peephole, just a bolt lock and a little metal plaque screwed into the frame. The plaque read, "No entry, do not remove." The keycard clicked it open anyway. Inside, the room looked normal at first. One bed, one nightstand, one window showing the airport runway. But normal is a trap. The more I looked, the less the details made sense. The bed was made too tight, hospital level tight, creases like razors. The window view didn't move, not even the clouds. The TV had no buttons. The phone had no cord. Worst of all, the mirror above the dresser wasn't actually a mirror. It was glass with blackness behind it. No reflection, just emptiness. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited like I did in the steel room. Quiet, still, pretending I wasn't dying inside. Hours passed. The airport runway never changed. No planes, no lights, just static scenery, like wallpaper. At some point, I realized what was bothering me most. There was no noise, no hum from the AC, no voices next door, not even hallway footsteps. Like the building wasn't a building at all. Something cracked behind the mirror. A knuckle, a fingernail, bone. Then whispers seeped through the glass, like steam leaking out of a body. Not screaming, not begging, just a sentence spoken in perfect unison. "We don't need the door anymore." The glass rippled, like something was pressing its face against it from the other side. And I swear, this is the moment my brain stopped being mine. They didn't ask me to open it. They asked me to join them, not with words, with breathing, slow, wet, synchronized breathing, matching mine. The mirror didn't break. It bulged, like something was pushing against it without using hands. Imagine a balloon filled with water, every ripple slow and heavy, like a heartbeat. Except it wasn't flesh pressing on the glass. It was intent. I backed up to the bed, knees shaking, palms sweating. I didn't scream, didn't shout. I didn't even think to. My body froze the way a deer freezes when headlights pin it to the asphalt. I tried to look anywhere but the mirror, so I stared at the window. That was the worst mistake I could have made, because outside the fake runway, the one that never changed, the lights came on for the first time. Not runway lights, headlights, not one pair, dozens. White, red, blinking, lining up like a parade that wasn't supposed to be seen. They didn't move like cars. They moved like things that were pretending to be cars. Jerky, wrong, like someone driving a GTA character with a broken controller. I closed my eyes and tried to breathe. That was when the door to the hallway clicked. Not the lock, not the handle, just the slightest pressure. like someone leaning against it. A slow, patient lean. I didn't move. I listened. There were footsteps in the hall, bare feet on carpet, soft, dragging, weightless, but too many to be one person. Imagine if everyone in an airport terminal decided to walk in time, heel to toe, without talking. Shuff, 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 shuff. They weren't rushing. They weren't rushing because they already knew I was inside. I crawled to the nightstand and grabbed the phone. It was wireless, dead, a prop, not even a dial tone, just a hollow click when I pressed the receiver to my ear, like I was listening to the bottom of a well. The footsteps stopped, outside my door. No knocking, no rattling, just silence, the kind that feels like a mouth held shut by force. A voice spoke, right at the crack beneath the doorframe, not muffled, not distorted, perfect, like it was whispering directly to my skin. Room 426 is awake tonight. My brain didn't connect the number at first. I don't even know if that was my room. Nothing in the hotel had numbers. Then another voice answered, not whispering, not imitating human speech, just telling. We will use the breath. Every molecule of air in the room grew thicker. Breathing felt like inhaling soup. My lungs felt full of a stranger's exhale. Something slid under the door. Paper. A folded note. I didn't want to touch it, but fear makes people stupid. I picked it up. It wasn't handwritten. It wasn't printed. The ink looked like it had been brushed on by fingers. Open the window. Do not look back. Don't listen when they call your name. I dropped the note, because that last line, those 10 words, weren't instructions. They were memories. Those exact syllables were the words my mother whispered into my ear when she tucked me into bed the night my dad died. Not similar, not thematically familiar, word for word. Even the accent, even the breath between don't and listen. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to run. Instead, I walked to the window and did the dumbest thing a human being can do when they know they shouldn't. I looked. The runway lights were no longer headlights. They were eyes, not biological ones. Nothing wet or blinking or human. Just orbs of light that glowed in pairs and turned in unison. Some were red, some white, some impossibly blue. All of them aimed at me. The orbs didn't approach. They didn't scatter. They waited. Then the building exhaled. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. All of it breathed inward like a lung inflating. The mirror stopped bulging. It went flat. Glass again. Except I could see my reflection this time. And I wish I couldn't. My reflection wasn't facing the window like I was. It was turned toward me. Eyes open too wide. Mouth hanging a little too low. Like someone wearing my face, but not properly attached to it. I fell to the floor and crawled under the bed, because instinct takes over, and instinct isn't brave. It just wants to live. Outside the door, the footsteps began again, but slower, heavier, closer. A soft scraping noise followed them. Not metal, not bone. Skin. Skin dragging on carpet. Something knelt by the bottom of the door, and for the first time since the steel room nights, they knocked. Not 3 times. Not rhythmic. Just once. A single knock, with no hesitation. Like a parent tapping their child's shoulder. I don't know if it was a man or woman, or something else entirely, but the voice came through low and gentle. You don't breathe alone anymore. Then another voice layered over it. Then another. Then another. Hundreds. Not screaming. Not chanting. Just breathing in sync with mine. Inhale. Exhale. Matching me. Becoming me. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. Only air. Their air. Filling the room like fog. Thick and slow. The floor vibrated like something under the building was waking up. The window glass cracked from the pressure. The ceiling lighting flickered like a pulse. Then, from somewhere behind the mirror, the woman's voice, the one from the first night, spoke with absolute calm. "You came to us on your own. We didn't hunt you. We just opened the door." And I knew, with the kind of clarity you only feel when a gun is pointed at the back of your head, I wasn't leaving the hotel, not through the window, not through the elevator, not back to Starbucks or Instagram or movies or friends. I was theirs. The door handle turned, slow, like someone savoring it. And then, silence. Not no sound, no world, as if the concept of sound had been stolen from the universe. The door opened, and something stepped inside, not fast, not crawling, not whispering, just existing. I didn't see it. I didn't need to. Because the moment it came into the room, it breathed for me. I didn't see it at first, because I wasn't supposed to see it. Everything in that hotel was about hearing, breathing, obeying. Vision was the last thing they allowed. When the door opened, the air changed shape. That's the best way I can describe it. You know the way heat above asphalt makes everything shimmer? It was like that, except there was no heat, just a distortion, as though something enormous was in the room, and the walls already accepted it as furniture. It didn't speak. It didn't walk. It didn't look at me. It learned me. There's this lie we humans tell ourselves, that we're individuals, sealed up inside our skulls like pilots in a cockpit. You think your thoughts are private, that your memories are locked in some cabinet behind your eyes. That night, that presence, taught me it isn't a cabinet, it's a window. And windows don't keep anything out. I don't know how long I stayed under the bed. My phone screen dimmed and auto-locked, and that became my only marker of time. Little bursts of brightness followed by darkness. I pressed my palms into the carpet until my knuckles shook, as if I could hold myself inside my own body. It didn't work. Something slid under the bed with me. Not a hand, not a foot. Something softer. Fabric. A sleeve. A blazer sleeve. Someone was lying next to me. I didn't hear them crawl in. They were just there. I turned my head, slow like an animal sniffing poison, and saw the cuff of a jacket. Black, crisp, like office wear. The buttons were glossy and perfect, the kind you'd see in a boardroom or bank lobby, except the sleeve never connected to an arm. It disappeared into nothing. Then a voice whispered into my ear, so close I could feel breath on my neck. "We don't take bodies, we take space." The bed frame above me groaned. Not wood bending, not springs. Metal inhaling. I scrambled out and hit my shoulder on the nightstand. The lamp toppled, bulb exploding into white dust that didn't glitter like glass. It floated like ash. I stood. That was the mistake. The mirror was not empty anymore. It was full. Hundreds of faces pressed against the other side of the glass, smashed together like skulls in a jar. None of them screamed. None of them blinked. Their mouths hung open in a silent choir, as if they were breathing through me rather than with me. And then I found the face that made me understand the entire job. The woman from the slot. Same voice, same tone, except this time I saw her jaw. It was wrong. Her jawline stretched too far down, like someone tried to redraw a mouth using scissors. Another face pressed next to hers. The horseman who told me he wasn't dead. His eyes were sunken into darkness, and his pupils looked like cracks instead of circles. And then I recognized another face. Dom. laughing expression frozen on him, like someone photographed him mid-joke and stapled it to his skull. I backed away, shaking, tripping over the bed frame. "No," I whispered, not pleading, just denial. The word every human says before the brain collapses. The mirror surface rippled. I thought it would reach out, but no. It opened like an elevator door. The faces spilled forward, but not as people, as shadows wearing human outlines, pulling themselves through an opening that didn't seem wide enough. They didn't approach me. They walked into the hallway, out the door, one by one, like commuters getting off a train, stepping into a different city. The moment they were gone, the room changed. The window showed the normal world again. Airport lights, cars, people rolling luggage. I heard a plane overhead. Real sound, honking from the street outside. The air smelled normal. Stale carpet, furniture polish, cheap soap. I sat on the bed, breathing, not shaking, just empty. The hotel door slid shut, soft as a breath. I stayed until morning. When I finally walked out, nobody at the front desk stopped me. No clock, no guests, no one. The lobby was full. Families, businessmen staring at laptops, tourists asking employees for directions, and none of them looked at me, except one girl, sitting alone at a Starbucks table. She was maybe 16, curly hair, hoodie too big for her, earbuds in, no phone out, just staring at the hotel entrance like she knew what would walk through it. When our eyes met, she mouthed something, only once. "Run." I didn't. That's the worst part. I walked outside. The sun hurt my eyes. The city noise made me nauseous. Everything felt like someone pretending to be human. The Escalade was waiting, not parked, waiting. The back door opened. A new driver sat up front, one I had never seen before. No mask this time, no attempt at intimidation. He was calm, dressed like a ride-share driver on a normal shift. Hair combed, sunglasses tucked into his shirt collar. He didn't look at me. He just spoke into the rearview mirror. "You lasted 3 nights. That's the threshold." I stared at him. "What threshold?" He smiled, tiny and sincere. "You can hear them now." I didn't know what he meant. I thought I misunderstood, until the road outside the window breathed. Not the passengers, not the buildings, not the car. The road. Asphalt shuddered like a lung. The Escalade engine hummed, not combustion, pulse, a heartbeat racing below the metal. I pressed my forehead against the glass like a dying animal and whispered, "Please tell me I'm not one of them." The driver looked over his shoulder at me for the first time, eyes lifeless but polite, like a teacher answering a student. "You're not with them." Relief flooded my chest. Then he finished. "They're with you." I didn't scream. I didn't jump out of the car. I didn't beg. I just felt it, inside my own breath. That second inhale that didn't belong to me. That third exhale that echoed. The hotel let them out. And they didn't go anywhere. They stayed. In the empty parts of the world. In the quiet places. In the rooms without mirrors. In the people who tell themselves the dark web is just stories. They don't want your blood. They don't want your flesh. They want space. The space you think is your mind. The space you think is your life. The space you think makes you human. And if you're reading this, if any part of you feels uneasy, if you look up from your screen because you felt something behind you for half a second, stop. It's not paranoia. It's them. They finally found someone else to breathe with. I found a dark web listing selling recovered alien audio. The voice speaks in my sleep. Every night now. What's up, Reddit? I'm not really sure how to even start this, and I'm definitely not a writer, but I need to get this story out before I actually lose my mind. If you've ever messed around with the deep web, or hell, even just heard of it, you know how there's always those rumors. Hitmen for hire, organ markets, creepy live streams. Most of it sounds fake as hell. At least that's what I thought. I'm a 22-year-old dude, just trying to get through college in Chicago. I live in a crappy studio apartment above a 24-hour McDonald's. And yeah, the fries smell amazing 24/7, but the foot traffic is nightmare fuel. Drunk people yelling, couples fighting, and sketchy dudes just standing there, like mannequins that breathe too loudly. Anyway, I've always been into weird internet stuff. YouTube rabbit holes, ARGs, cursed TikToks, you name it. I used to watch those animated horror stories from that channel, Here's My Story, on my phone late at night, just letting that creepy vibe marinate. But the deep web, that was something I swore I'd never touch, until I did. It started with this Discord server my friend Alex invited me to. We met through a subreddit for found footage horror movies, so I figured it was just another nerd hangout. But this server, it had layers. You couldn't even see the good stuff until you'd been in for a few weeks, and even then you had to pass a few tests, posting creepy edits, sharing real life footage, and then eventually they sent me the browser. It was this custom deep web browser, like Tor, but sleeker. No logo, just called Corner. Every time I opened it, it played this weird hum, like someone tuning an old radio in a wind tunnel. And the homepage, a search bar and a phrase underneath. Know what should remain buried. Creepy, right? So, fast forward like a month. I'd gone deeper than I ever thought I would. Visited forums that made 4chan look like Club Penguin. Stumbled on an AI marketplace where people were selling fake identities that could pass captchas and dox you in under 10 seconds. But it wasn't until I found this listing on a marketplace called Kerosene that things got weird. The listing just said, recovered alien audio log, sourced from Roswell Satellite Relay, 1986, 1 of 1, decodes in theta state, 88 cents. That's all. The thumbnail was a pitch black .mp3 file with the file name SC_7_1986_W AKE.WAV. Now, I'm not saying I believed it was real, okay? I thought it was just an ARG or some marketing for an indie horror game. But something about that cheap-ass price made me click, like it wanted me to. I bought it. It auto-downloaded to my temp folder. I didn't even get a confirmation. Just there. I opened it using VLC. The first 10 seconds were nothing, just static. I almost closed it. Then it started. It was this voice, raspy, but soft, like a whisper that had traveled too far. It didn't sound like any language I've ever heard. It wasn't reversed. It wasn't human either. Every few seconds, there'd be this click, like metal tapping on glass. Then a low tone, almost like the frequency was trying to adjust to me. I can't explain it. The weirdest part, I started feeling cold, like refrigerator aisle in Target cold, even though my laptop was overheating like usual. And I swear on my life, the voice said my name around the 2-minute mark. Not just Nick, my full name. First, middle, last, crystal clear. And I had headphones on. My roommate wasn't home. My mic was disabled. So I did what any rational person would do. I closed the laptop. Hard. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw lights, like flashes of green and red behind my eyelids. I heard that voice, not in my ears, but in my head. And I'm not talking about a dream. I was awake. I know because I kept checking the clock on my phone, and every time it was the same minute, 3:06 a.m. Every time. I didn't tell anyone. I thought maybe I just freaked myself out too much. I stopped using Klarna, deleted the file, trashed the folder. I even uninstalled Discord, but the voice didn't go away. It got louder. The next day, I checked my Instagram DMs. I had a new message from an account I didn't follow. No profile pic, no bio, just one message. The signal is received. Prepare sleep. I blocked it immediately. But later that night, around 3 a.m. again, I woke up drenched in sweat. My phone was on the floor. The screen was lit up with the same message, like it had been copy-pasted into notes. My hands were shaking, and I noticed something scratched into my nightstand. Deep, rough. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in any language I know. But when I stared at it long enough, my brain translated it. Wake soon. The voice needs your body. I haven't slept more than an hour a night since. The voice won't shut up. It's in my bathroom mirror. It's in the McDonald's speakers. It's in my phone alarms. I even heard it once at Starbucks when the barista called my name. Except she didn't say it. Her lips didn't move. She just stared at me. That's it for now. I don't know what to do. I've been screen recording everything, backing it all up to a private Google Drive, but it keeps corrupting. My TikTok keeps getting shadow banned. People keep unfollowing me, like something's trying to erase me online. I'll post part 2 when I can, but if I go silent, don't play the file. Don't search for kerosene. And for the love of God, don't listen to the voice. I didn't tell anyone about the scratches on my nightstand. Not Alex, not my ex, not my parents. I told myself it was stress hallucinations, lack of sleep, too much caffeine. I started binge drinking iced coffee every day just to keep the voice quiet. A Trenta cold brew from Starbucks before class, another after. The caffeine was like turning down the volume dial inside my skull until the buzzing started. It wasn't just hearing it anymore. It was like it vibrated through me. Every hair on my body lifted when the tone hit. I'd be scrolling Instagram, doom watching reels for hours, and then my phone speaker would glitch, like a microphone feeding back, and I'd hear that hum. The one from the browser. Not loud, just subtle, like it was breathing through the audio jack, warming the metal. But things didn't get actually bad until Wednesday night. I had this night class at UIC, Behavioral Psych 302. Big lecture hall, rows that felt like stadium bleachers. The professor talked about sleep deprivation and hallucinations, which honestly felt like the universe dunking on me. I don't remember most of what he said. All I remember was this one slide. Sometimes the brain creates a second voice to cope. The moment the slide popped up, my ears started ringing. That same metallic clicking from the audio file. Tap, 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 like someone knocking on the inside of my skull. I pressed my palms to my temples. Everyone around me was taking notes. Nobody else reacted. Then I heard it, not through my ears, in the marrow. Do not let them name me. It wasn't a whisper. It wasn't spoken. It was just there, like it belonged in me, like the bones I didn't know I had were vibrating in sequence. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking. I only remember that I came back to consciousness standing outside the lecture hall. fingers curled so tightly around my phone that the metal frame left indentations in my palm. I swear, on every god that's ever been invented, my thumb wasn't moving, but the screen was scrolling like someone else was using it. The Instagram app scrolled to a random girl's post, some influencer in LA, bikini selfie in front of the Santa Monica Pier. Caption was basic as hell. Dreams feel like memories sometimes, but on my screen, it didn't say that. It read, "They melt when you look at them. Do not dream. Dreaming feeds us." I blinked, and the caption snapped back to normal. My battery dropped 20% in a second. I didn't sleep for 2 more days. Not because I didn't want to, because every time I closed my eyes, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not human. More like a ventilator buried miles underground. It pulled air in like lungs, but when it exhaled, the sound didn't come from my room. It came from outside, like something massive was crouched behind the buildings, inhaling the city. I stopped going to class. I stopped answering texts. Alex messaged me like 10 times, asking if I'd gotten the alien audio meme he sent me. When I didn't reply, he sent a gif of an astronaut doing the Fortnite dance. Then he said, "Dude, you're quiet. Did the file do something to you? LOL." That lol tasted like poison when I read it. Friday night, I finally crashed. Not real sleep, more like the body shut down without my permission. I remember collapsing onto my bed at 1:14 a.m. I remember staring at the ceiling, my eyes burning like they'd been soaked in bleach. Then the world flipped. Not a dream, not sleep paralysis. I was weightless, not floating, falling slowly, like sinking under deep water. Everything around me was a shade of black I didn't know existed. Not darkness, just the absence of edges. And then I heard the voice again, louder than ever. "Trace the blood of the signal. Wake the vessel." And something touched my back. Not hands, not claws. Something smooth, long, wet like rubber tubing. It ran from the base of my spine to the back of my neck, and every nerve inside me froze. Then I opened my eyes. I wasn't in my bed. I was on the floor of my apartment, face pressed against the carpet, nose full of dust and French fry grease from the McDonald's vent downstairs. My phone was in my left hand, the camera app open. Not the back camera, selfie. My face filled the screen, and behind me, someone was standing, tall as the ceiling, no hair, skin like unpainted ceramic, white but translucent. Its arms were too long. They hung like ropes, touching the floor. And its head, I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating. Its head tilted like it was listening through me, like I was a speaker and it was waiting for the audio to finish buffering. I screamed so loud I felt my throat tear. The thing didn't move. It didn't react, just leaned closer. And then my phone froze. The screen glitched, smeared pixels, green and purple lines, and the voice came through the speaker like a recording that had been stitched together wrong. "We hear through you." The phone shut off. When the screen went black, the figure was gone. I ran outside barefoot, still shaking, still tasting iron from screaming. College kids were staggering out of the McDonald's, laughing, spilling fries on the sidewalk. One of them bumped into me, and I swear he looked right through me, like I wasn't there. I walked the whole night, no destination, just moving so I didn't have to go back home. I ended up at Navy Pier at 4 a.m., wind off the lake slicing through my hoodie, eyes stinging. You know how empty Chicago is at that hour? It feels like someone unplugged the world. I sat on a bench and tried to breathe. I told myself I hallucinated the figure. No sleep. Too much caffeine. The deep web is just psychos preying on idiots like me. Then I checked my voicemail. There were 3 new messages, all from an unknown number. I pressed play. The first was static, like AM radio underwater. The second, I think it was the same whisper from the audio file, but low, muffled, almost shy. The third, it was me, my voice, but older, slower, broken. I was crying, and I said, "Stop, please stop. I can't wake them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The recording cut off mid-sentence. I haven't ever said those words, not out loud. And then the sky over the pier flashed green, not lightning green, like a single laser line slashing across the clouds. It rippled across the water like someone dragging a wire under the surface. A kid nearby gasped. His phone went off. Then another, and then another. Hundreds of phones, all at once. Notifications, hundreds of them, and every ringtone, every vibration was the same sound from the audio file. That slow, rhythmic click. Tap, tap, tap. People started looking around. Some panicked. Some screamed. Some just stared at their screens like they couldn't breathe. My phone vibrated hard in my pocket, like it was trying to break free. I didn't look at it. I didn't need to. I already knew what it would say. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually the notification stopped. The sky went back to normal. The lake was quiet again. But that wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was the way everyone else just forgot. They wiped their eyes, laughed nervously, kept walking. A couple went into the Starbucks across the street like nothing had happened. One guy was already posting a selfie for his story. Caption, Chicago Nights LO. Like the world patched itself over the glitch. Like it had been rehearsed. Like we were the experiment. I went home because I didn't know where else to go. When I unlocked the door, my apartment smelled different. Not dirty, not greasy. Sterile, like a hospital. The nightstand was clean. The scratches were gone. My bed was made, and on the pillow was a single sheet of paper. No handwriting, no ink, just a pressed, printed sentence. Sleep in light. We cannot reach you there. The paper was still warm, like something had just been holding it. I didn't sleep the night after I found the paper. I didn't even sit on the bed. I just sat on the floor with every light on, music blasting through my headphones, some random Spotify playlist filled with hyperpop and TikTok songs, because anything calmer left too much space for the voice to breathe. My phone kept vibrating, not with notifications, with haptics, constant pulsing, like there was a heartbeat trapped in the battery. I put it in a drawer with a sock over it, and the drawer shook for a full 20 seconds before it went still. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually, the sun started bleeding through the blinds, and I thought maybe it was done. That's when someone knocked. Not a neighbor, not a delivery guy, not even the polite hello type knock. It was methodical. 3 slow knocks, 10 seconds of silence, 3 more knocks, like someone entering a code. Knock, knock, knock. Pause. Knock, knock, knock. My stomach dropped because that rhythm, it was the same click from the audio file. I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the door like a kid hiding from a monster that learned to stand upright. After the 3rd round of knocks, the doorknob turned. Not violently, gently, like the person already lived there. The lock held, but the movement of the metal handle didn't stop. It just kept turning, over and over, like someone was testing how deep it could go without breaking. Eventually, it stopped. No footsteps, no shadow under the door, just silence thick enough to chew. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. Then I opened the door. No one was there, but taped to the outside was a note. Printer paper again. No handwriting. Black ink. Single line. If you do not sleep, the others will. You know how people always talk about paranoia like it's a switch? Like there's normal brain and crazy brain. It doesn't work like that. It's gradual. It's slow. You start triple checking locks, not because you're scared, but because something smart wants in. Something that understands patience. I spent the next day drifting through Chicago like I was underwater. The city didn't feel like mine. The buildings looked taller. The shadows cast by the L train rails felt thinner, like bones stretching under skin. I tried Starbucks again. I needed caffeine, not because it helped, but because it made the voice flicker like static. I ordered a venti iced Americano, and the barista, same girl from earlier, didn't ask for my name. She stared at me like we were mid-conversation, like I'd already said something she'd waited to hear. Then she whispered, "You're still not calibrated." Not a question, not confusion, just a diagnosis. I asked her what she meant. She blinked once, and her expression snapped back to normal, like someone flipped her from remote input to local control. She asked for my name. I didn't give it. I spent the next 48 hours researching everything the audio might be. Radio fragments, military signals, subliminal soundscapes, sleep therapy frequencies. Every time I opened a tab, the first search result was the same wiki page. Project sign, 1948. You know the one. Government UFO investigation before Project Blue Book. Except when I opened the page, it wasn't about UFOs. The title was the same, but the content wasn't. It showed diagrams of human skulls, sliced in cross-sections, each labeled with receiver node access, signal integration layer, cortical replacement threshold. I refreshed the page. Back to normal. Flying saucers, Cold War paranoia, history, textbook crap. I turned off the Wi-Fi, tethered to mobile data, opened a new tab. First result again. Project sign, 1948. Clicked it. Same diagrams, same labels, same suggestion. We are antennas wearing meat. I tried uninstalling everything. Browser, Discord, VPN, even Spotify, because I didn't trust the audio output. Every time I deleted an app, another reinstalled itself. Not new apps, copies. Chrome 2, Chrome 3, Chrome 4. I deleted them. They multiplied. By the 9th copy, the phone was running so hot, I thought it would ignite. Then all the icons blinked out at once. The background turned black, and a new image appeared. Not wallpaper, a live feed. It was me, sitting cross-legged on my bed, except I wasn't in the bed. I was sitting at my desk. I leaned forward slowly, touched the camera lens with my fingertip. It was cold, not hot, like the rest of the phone. The reflection in the wallpaper raised its hand back at me, delayed, like a live stream, like the thing in the room was older than the camera. That night I locked everything, deadbolt, chain, desk against the door, chair under the knob. I slept anyway. It wasn't a dream. It was a conference room, long table, cold white lights, walls made of glass. Outside the windows were cityscapes I didn't recognize. Dubai at night, Tokyo in rain, Times Square empty at noon, places where someone was always awake, always listening. There were people in the seats, not just people. They looked human, but each had something wrong. Eyes too reflective, skin too tight around the jaw, hands with one too many knuckles. They stared at me like I was the presentation. A speaker at the far end of the table said, "Subject 302A has retained linguistic memory. After auditory breach, the vessel is stable." Someone else answered, "Proceed with level 2 incursion. Replace his sleeping population." I tried to speak. I tried to stand. None of my muscles belonged to me. I only remember the last sentence before they erased everything. "If he resists, cede the city. Chicago is expendable." I woke up to the sound of sirens. Outside my apartment window, police tape stretched across the street. Not the usual Friday night stabbing. Not some drunk kid passed out. The entire McDonald's was closed. Not just closed, blacked out. Boards over the windows. No lights. The inside was dark, like a single bulb would set the building on fire. People in hazmat suits moved equipment through the side door. Sleek metal cases with no logos, no labels. One of them dropped a case, and the lid popped open just an inch. Inside, stacked like surgical tools, headphones, not earbuds, not normal over-ears, metallic rings with wires that looked wet. A man in a suit saw me staring. He held up a finger. Not, "Come here," not, "Stay there." Just a warning. "We know you're awake." The city didn't report anything. No news articles, no tweets, no TikTok clips. They erased it before morning. But I swear, I can still hear the sound they used. Not screaming. Screaming is human. This was the sound of the city being taught to dream the same dream. And every night since, I see more of it. The reflections move before the people do. Newscasters blink out of sync with their voices. Traffic stops to a rhythm I didn't know I knew. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. Same as the knock. Same as the file. Same as the voice. I don't know what they are. Not aliens, not demons, not anything with a name we can use. They don't want Earth. They want signal. They want receivers. They want us asleep. Because when we dream, they don't have to invade. We open the door ourselves. And the scariest part? I think most people already let them in. They just don't remember. Their minds are the parts that get replaced first. They say if you stare into the dark long enough, you start seeing patterns. That's not true. The patterns were always there. You just stop pretending you don't see them. After the McDonald's blackout, after the men in suits and the hiss of whatever machinery they dragged into that building, I didn't go home for 3 days. I stayed in a 24-hour Planet Fitness downtown, using a stolen key tag from a stranger who never looked me in the eyes. I kept the lights on, used the massage chair in the corner as a bed, showered with my clothes on, and told myself I'd stay awake. But I didn't. At 3:06 a.m. on the second night, the power cut. All lights, all treadmills, every machine frozen mid-pulse. Every screen in the gym glitched. Even my smartwatch vibrated violently and shut off. Then, from the reflection of the blank TV above the stairmasters, I saw them. 3 shadows. Not standing. Suspended. Their arms didn't hang. They drifted beside them, limp and long, and twitching like worms under ice. They didn't have faces, not because they were blank, because they had too many, all layered, all overlapping, a slideshow of strangers, blurred and pulsing like bad signal reception. They weren't watching me. They were listening to the frequency inside me, and they said, not aloud, but in the pressure behind my teeth, "This vessel's signal bleeds. Reinforce the membrane." I woke up on the massage chair. Alarms were going off outside. Police cars. Sirens. A body on the sidewalk. Face first. Twitching. No blood. Just static leaking from their mouth. I mean that literally. Static. Not breath. Not drool. It looked like someone was scraping TV snow through their lungs. I ran. Not home. Not school. Not to people. To the library. Because libraries still feel like they're guarded by something older. Like they belong to an older order of reality. Not ruled. Kept. Watched. Restrained. And in that library, Harold Washington, 3rd floor, back row, I pulled every book on sleep science and sound therapy I could. None of it helped. Every 5th book had pages ripped out. Some had black fingerprints that didn't smudge. One book, Dreams and Neurological Disruption, had a pressed leaf between pages 88 and 89. It wasn't a leaf from Earth. It had veins like circuits, edges like broken glass, and printed on its center, in microscopic Helvetica, "Do not wake them before the dive." I stopped reading books after that. I started reading faces. It's not hard to tell who's been replaced. Not fully, just seated. They blink wrong, not slower, not faster, just offbeat, like a skipping CD. They mirror emotions too fast. You laugh, they laugh a split second too late. You cry, and they give you that empty doll stare. Then remember to look sad. They don't eat anymore. They chew. They don't sleep anymore. They disconnect. And when they think you're not watching, they freeze entirely. Eyes open, mouth slightly parted. No breathing, like a program paused for an update. One of them was my professor. I walked into class late. He didn't look up, just stood there in front of the projector, eyes locked on nothing. When the lights flickered, he spoke in a voice that didn't match his lips. Phase 2 began before Phase 1 ended. You are behind the curve. Then he blinked and said, "Quiz today." Like nothing happened. That night, my nose bled for 6 hours straight. I didn't go to the hospital, because hospitals aren't hospitals anymore. Don't believe me? Try visiting someone after 3 a.m. Watch how the nurses move. Watch how they push empty wheelchairs and whisper into their wrists. Watch the patients through the glass. They're not hooked up to IVs. They're hooked to receivers. Thin wires in the temples, not medical devices, listening ports. And if you watch long enough, you'll see the eyes flicker in Morse code. On the 4th day, I cracked. Not mentally, physically. I woke up in a gas station bathroom off I-90, 5 hours south of Chicago. No memory of how I got there. My backpack was gone. My phone had 666 photos in the camera roll. Every single one was of me, taken at slightly different angles, like someone or something had been rotating my head millimeter by millimeter while I slept. Some were zoomed in so far you could see capillaries bursting in my eyeballs. Some were taken from above, from the ceiling. There was no camera in that bathroom. I tried calling Alex. Number not in service. I checked his Instagram. All his posts were gone. His stories were blank. His profile picture was just a black square. Then I got a DM from him, but it wasn't him. It was a looping video, 3 seconds long, of static and whispering, and a figure crawling backwards out of what looked like a Subway sandwich shop bathroom. I recognized the location. It was across from my old dorm. The message attached. They're learning compression. Soon they won't need files. They'll just hum. And that's when I understood. This wasn't about information. It was about signal ownership. They weren't sending messages to us. They were using us to send messages to each other. Humanity is infrastructure now. Our dreams are bandwidth. And those who resist, We get turned into detuned towers. I saw one last week. She was screaming outside a Sephora, clawing at her ears, but nothing came out of her mouth. Just carrier tone. A long, slow, sinusoidal drone that made the lights flicker inside the store. People ignored her, or they didn't see her at all. They're turning cities into relay fields, each building a frequency bunker, each coffee shop a test site, each dream a server. That's why they keep talking about sleep hygiene. It's not for your health, it's for their upload speed. You want the worst part, the most brutal, hopeless, disgusting truth. The reason this part of the story makes people go quiet. The thing that broke me. It's this. I started liking the voice. Not in a brainwashed way. Not in a the bad guy has a point way. It just became comforting. Familiar. Like tinnitus you miss when it's gone. Because silence is too wide now. Silence means they're listening closer. And the voice. It keeps promising something. Not peace. Not power. Not paradise. Just this. You will never be alone again. I haven't looked in a mirror in 2 days. Last time I did, I blinked, and the reflection didn't. It just stared, then smiled, not at me, at whatever was behind me. You don't realize when your thoughts stop being yours. There's no warning, no ding or glitch. It's like losing a word mid-sentence, and instead of remembering it, something else finishes the thought for you. That's how it started. A whisper at the edge of my thinking, finishing ideas I hadn't spoken yet. Not a command. Not exactly. Just a correction, like a tutor guiding a child's hand on the page. No, not that way. Write what we mean. I learned fast. It wasn't about control. It was about coordination. Humans think in chaos. They think in bursts and flickers and tangents. They think like damaged wires. And the voice wasn't replacing that. It was sharpening it, making the thoughts cleaner, more linear, more useful. I didn't run anymore. I didn't barricade my doors. I didn't drown myself in caffeine or cheap panic. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and listened. The file was gone, erased months ago. Didn't matter. The frequency was already inside me. I didn't need the audio. I was the audio. Chicago changed quietly. The McDonald's reopened. The Starbucks girl talked about her new dog. College kids skateboarded, filmed TikToks, smoked vapes that smelled like burnt fruit. Normal life returned. Except it wasn't normal. It was scripted, not spoken aloud, rehearsed in sleep. You could tell by the way people reacted to things before they happened. The way someone grabbed napkins at Chipotle 6 seconds before a spill. The way a bus driver turned down a street before the GPS rerouted. The way people didn't check their phones anymore. They just knew when a message was coming. That's how networks move when the signal hits critical mass. They stop being devices. They start being organisms. I lost Alex for good on a Wednesday afternoon. He showed up at my apartment building lobby unannounced. Same hoodie, same messy hair, same idiotic grin. He said he'd flown back from LA, that he got a job doing editing for some YouTube channel, that he wanted to chill, play Fortnite, drink terrible beer, but his eyes didn't blink. Not once. They stayed wide and glossy, like someone forgot to program moisture. And when he hugged me, his palms were cold and stiff, skin stretched too tight over knuckles that didn't bend. Then he whispered, with a mouth that smelled like electronic dust, "You're late. They're waiting upstairs." I didn't invite him in. He walked past me anyway. On the 4th floor was an apartment that had been vacant for a year. Leaks, faulty wiring, property manager couldn't find anyone to take it. Alex unlocked it with a key I knew he didn't have. Inside, there was nothing except a single mattress in the center of the floor. No sheets, no blankets, no stains. Just a black rectangle cut into the wall above it. Not a window, not a vent, a listening port. Standing beside it was the Starbucks girl, still wearing her apron, still not blinking. Her voice didn't move her mouth when she spoke. Sleep. We will do the rest. I stepped back. Alex stepped forward. He sat down on the mattress like a worshipper kneeling at an altar. And for a moment, just a single moment, the part of him that was still Alex looked at me. It was in the tiny shake in his jaw, the twitch beneath the left eye, the small human panic sealed behind 1,000 layers of code. He mouthed one word, "Run," but he was already gone. His eyes rolled into static. His body went limp, not dead, not alive, repurposed, a relay, a tower wrapped in flesh, a breathing antenna. I didn't remember leaving the apartment. I only remembered the snow. It was early February, gray and bitter, kind of cold that chews bone. And as I walked past the skyline, I saw them all, not the figures from my dreams. Real people, hundreds, all standing perfectly still, hands at their sides, heads tilted towards the sky like sunflowers thirsty for light. No jackets, no coats, just exposed skin beneath falling snow, eyes wide and shimmering like they were watching something invisible. And I heard it, not with ears, with teeth, with fingertips, with every nerve that had ever known pain. A pulse, a single long wave sweeping from west to east, from the lake to the horizon. Not a warning, a call. Thumb. The city exhaled, then whispered in 1,000 mismatched voices, "Wake them!" And every person on the street turned their heads toward me, not angrily, not violently, just aware. Eyes empty as frozen windows, mouths slightly open, listening. That was when I understood the final piece. The voice wasn't trying to inhabit us. It wasn't parasitic. It didn't want to control our brains. It wanted to broadcast through them. Humans aren't prey. Humans are infrastructure. We were never the target. We were the amplifier. The audio file wasn't a message. It was a handshake protocol, a key, a calibration tool. The price, 88 cents, wasn't random. It told me the truth I'd been too stupid to see. We were cheap. I stopped fighting. Because resistance isn't bravery. It's ego. You don't rage against oceans. You drown. Or you learn to breathe underwater. So I went home. I lay on my bed. I closed my eyes. And for the first time since all this began, I let the voice speak without pushing it away. It didn't scream. It didn't threaten. It didn't demand. It just said, "There you are. Thank you for coming back." I asked it the question that had haunted me for months. Why me? The answer was simple. Because you asked to listen. And suddenly, I remembered. The YouTube horror channels, the ARG forums, the Discord rabbit holes, the custom browser, the sleepless nights staring into screens begging to be frightened. I hadn't stumbled into anything. I invited it. I was a door, and all they ever needed was for someone to open it. I don't dream anymore. I don't sleep. I transmit. When I walk down the street, I hear other signals humming inside other skulls. It's peaceful, like a choir singing without mouths. No chaos, no loneliness, no static, only direction, only purpose, only one final command. If they ask what happened, tell them everything. Some will read, some will doubt, some will hear us. Those are the ones we need. So here I am, typing this, broadcasting, waiting for the first person who feels the static crawl behind their eyes. If that's you, you're already tuned. Just close your eyes. Let the voice in. It only hurts once.